Welcome to CN Movies, the show where we review movies from a Christian's perspective. I'm the filmmaker.
And I'm the film watcher. Today we're reviewing DreamWorks' The Road to El Dorado, which was released in 2000. This film's about two best friends who are basically con artists, and they're searching for El Dorado, the city of gold.
It's like it's a buddy comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fun fact, it's the only DreamWorks movie to lose money. It's the only DreamWorks animated movie to lose money.
Makes sense.
All right, so my expectations, I know I normally don't talk about expectations going into these movies, but this one I was actually excited. Like the other ones I wanted to see that we've reviewed so far, but I've seen them before. This one I've never seen before. So going into this movie I was excited. I was like, The Road to El Dorado, watching a trailer, I was like, this is probably a good movie. And I have heard it has like a cult following, so maybe it's just overlooked at its time. But let's review it.
Okay.
The gift of paradise, peaceful and humble.
All right, first up is the story.
I like the adventure type story, two best friends on a search for the city of gold. But first of all, they're con artists, so that's
the characters.
that's the characters.
And they're con
But
artists.
they find El Dorado like within the first 30 minutes of the movie.
That was like probably one of my biggest flaws is that the adventure kind of stops when they find Road to El Dorado. When they find it wasn't really the Road to El Dorado. That was like the first 30 minutes, which is fine, but should have probably been most of the movie.
Yeah.
Because once it got to El Dorado, the movie just came to a screeching halt in terms of its momentum.
Well, they get there, and then of course there's problems, and
It's just once they get there, you know exactly what to expect. Whereas up to that point,
the adventure was lost.
Yeah, the adventure was lost.
Yeah.
And that's really what killed the story for me as well. They found a road to El Dorado in less than 30 minutes, rendering the title of the film to be misleading. I think that's an accurate note that I wrote when I watched this. There's no real reason. There's no real reason to care about El Dorado.
I mean, it's a city made out of gold.
It's really just
it's
the MacGuffin of this film. Yeah. It's just like it exists so that the film can exist. It exists so that the characters have a motivation. And you don't care about it. But the thing is, it's not that. It's that the film makes it seem like you should care. Like El Dorado. Oh, it's this awesome place. It's full of gold. And then you get there and you're like, it's a city filled with gold, all right. I mean, it's not even really a city. It's just like a pyramid. That was like the entire place. And maybe a river.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like any modern technology would have found that thing right away.
Well, it wasn't modern.
I know. It's just like, I don't know. But the story itself, I put, was predictable and bland. It is. It's predictable and bland. You know exactly what to expect the entire time you watch it. From the moment you meet the characters, you just know everything that's going to happen. Like, at least me, I knew everything that was going to happen. And I had never seen the film before. And I just knew everything. And it's unlike the Disney movies that we reviewed before this. Even The Sandlot and Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, all those movies had original stories. Every single one. Like, I didn't know what to expect the first time I watched, or in case of Narnia, read the story. Like, I just didn't know what to expect for the most part. You kind of know what the ending's going to be, but the journey, you don't. The journey here, I knew the entire journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that how you felt? You knew the entire thing? Or?
I'm not as good as predicting what's going to happen, but yeah, it was just...
I don't know. When we watch movies, you'll be like, oh, is this about to happen? And I'll be like, how does she already know?
Yeah. Sometimes. I guess in this movie, I mean, the natives did make them gods or whatever, and then they had to rule the city, and I don't know, it just felt, like you said, lost momentum.
I guess because I saw Madagascar before this, because they could do that in Madagascar.
That's a good movie.
I don't know. There's just other kids' movies that done it. There are other kids' movies that done it before this one. It's just I had seen our kids' movies that came out after this. I don't know. The whole movie is very predictable. I gave it a 2 out of 10.
I gave it a 5 out of 10.
The only reason I didn't give it a 1 out of 10 is because I didn't hate the story. I just found it very dull. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It was just very, very dull. But you gave it a 5 out of 10, you said?
Yeah, I like the adventure aspect. I did like some of the... They had a few good moments in El Dorado. There were some funny scenes, but...
Yeah.
The gift of paradise, peaceful and humble.
Our second category is characters.
The characters are kind of basic. I mean, I just didn't like that the main characters are con artists. Like, they are tricking everyone.
Yeah, Tulio and Miguel.
Yeah. And, I mean, Miguel's supposed to be the nice one or whatever.
Yeah,
he, makes friends and... But other than Tulio, Miguel, and Chel, really the only other main character that stands out is the bad guy.
The writing did them no favors. There wasn't anything that made you want to like these guys.
Yeah, no. You didn't really want to... They're
Like, I initially wanted to when they were con artists, because you think, like, they're con artists and they're like, they'll grow over time, become better characters, and you'll root for them, but you never root for them. I never rooted for them. I was, like, waiting for it, too. It was like, they reached El Dorado. The people at El Dorado declare them to be little G gods. And you're like, okay, at this point, they're going to learn some sort of lesson.
No.
Nope. It doesn't happen. They're just bland and flat characters who don't really grow at all in this movie. I put Chel sounds American.
I didn't think so, but...
Well, I put Chel sounds American, which is a negative because no one's supposed to sound American except for maybe Tulio and Miguel, who still don't even have American names, by the way. I would have accepted if they did, and they do for the most part, I want to say.
1600s, there isn't even America.
Whatever, look.
I'm
it's
not
American voice.
sorry,
That's the
way
problem. It's the
earlier.
voice actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the villains are all instantly forgettable. I honestly do not remember any of the villains.
There's
I just remember they were chasing them.
Well, there was the...
To find El Dorado as
There's
well?
the bad guy from Spain. He was trying to find... But he was actually a real historical character. I can't remember his name right now.
Well, just like Shan Yu or whatever from Mulan. Yeah, just because he's a real guy doesn't mean he's interesting.
Memorable, though.
Yeah, I can remember the Hun leader. I can't remember. Yeah. I just wrote down villains. Even when watching the movie, I couldn't remember what his name was. So for the characters, I don't even know why. I'm going to knock this down. I'm giving the characters a 1 out of 10. I didn't like any of them. Not a single one.
I gave him a 4 out of 10. Miguel was the only one that I kind of liked. Like, he had some redeeming qualities because he cared about the people more than the gold. But still, for the most part...
He did learn to grow
like,
people
a little
more.
bit.
It's just, I don't know. By the end of the movie, it felt like he didn't actually learn anything at all. You gave it, what, a 4 out of 10?
I gave 4 out of 10.
And I gave it a 1 out of 10.
The gift of paradise, peaceful and humble.
Next up is music. There isn't a single positive song in this entire... All of the music is bland. Every single song.
I don't remember any song.
Every single song in this movie is bland. And I don't think any of the characters sang any of the songs, so it wasn't a musical. It wasn't a musical.
Song.
But yeah, there was not... I hate that we keep having to compare Mulan, but it's kind of like the bar for animation that we've seen so far. I know you like Hunchback more. But I think Mulan had better music. And for that reason, Mulan had the orchestral music in it, as we mentioned. And... Road to El Dorado, didn't have anything like that. I'm saying Mulan had the songs that they sang, right? But it also had orchestral music that went with the movie that they didn't have to sing. That really built up what was happening. And yeah, it's the background music, but it was orchestra. Okay. There was no background music in this movie that worked.
Oh, that worked.
Yeah, that's exactly. You didn't notice because it was just all so bland and just generic, which is sad. But DreamWorks, I guess, was kind of new at the time. They'd only made Ants before this, so they weren't the powerhouse called Disney yet. Yeah. They weren't the DreamWorks that we know now, who makes very successful films. But
I remember thinking I liked the adventure song and that whole scene, leading up to their actual discovery.
Before we watched it again, or before?
No, in my notes.
You actually did?
Yeah, that the adventure song was the only good song. I gave it a 4 out of 5, but. I don't even remember anything from it.
Yeah. I give the music a 1 out of 10. What'd you give it?
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. Yeah, the music was just whatever.
The gift of paradise, peaceful and humble.
Our next category is animation. This is actually probably the best part of this movie. The animation was well done. Whoever animated this movie, you could have told me they worked for Disney and I would have believed you because... It was really well done. It was well done. The colors really popped. They did the El Dorado. Despite the fact that El Dorado was just lame as a place, it did look like what they. Yeah, everything in this movie looked right. It looked correct. It looked good. It didn't feel like. It felt like exactly where it should have felt like. Which when they were journeying to El Dorado and when they got to El Dorado, the animation was really well done. They definitely put time and effort into it. The characters look unique. If I was to pop up Miguel's face right now, you know who Miguel is. Yeah. You can name him. Because he does. He has his face. And same with what was it, Tool or whatever his name? Tulio and Miguel and Chel and all of them, the animators did a great job in making them all look unique and none of them they don't blend into each other, which could happen as a buddy cop. I mean, they weren't polar opposites, which is usually the easy way of going. But yeah, they did a really well job. The only thing I knocked them for was the CGI doesn't mix well with the hand-drawn animation, kind of like in Hercules. Yeah. In Hercules, that didn't work at all, and here it doesn't work either. And I noted that it was the barrel scene, when they were rolling in the barrels, or they were hiding in the barrels, or whatever it was, what they were doing with the barrels, that it was CGI. The barrels were CGI'd. And it was just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why? Were the people from Ants, like, bored or something? And they're like, hey, let's help out. And they're like, we don't really need you. And they're like, well, we're doing it anyways. And then that's when the barrels appear. Like, why the barrels of all things? Why wasn't El Dorado CG when they first showed it or something? I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was...
I knock off points for the CGI, too. And, I don't know, I thought it was good, and I thought it fit and everything, but to me it just wasn't...
They definitely were experimenting at this time frame, I guess, both companies, with mixing CGI and... Because CGI was super popular after Toy Story. Everybody wanted... And VeggieTales. The 90s, like, CGI... That was, like, really... There wasn't much being CGI. It was, like, Ants, Pixar movies, and... VeggieTales. Like, that's all I could think of that was, like, in terms of, like, the animation being CG. And then, of course, all the big action movies had a bunch of CG in them, but not kids' movies as much. But yeah, animation, I gave it an 8 out of 10. What do you give it?
I give it a 5 out of 10.
Sounds about right.
The gift of paradise, peaceful and humble.
Our last category is the Christian nutritional value. The only positive I got out of this movie in terms of Christian nutritional value, in terms of just positive values in general, was Miguel shows forgiveness when pretending to be a little G god. Which leads into my negatives. They were viewed as the little G gods. Miguel and Tulio. And there was... I mean, God was never referenced, so it wasn't like they were little G gods and then they acknowledged that there is a God. Like, there is the God. It was just like, little G gods are the gods. Like, that's it. There was rear male nudity, which I thought was awkward in a kid's movie. Like, who was that for? You think, like, mothers, like, took their children to the movie and they're like, oh my gosh, there's animated butts. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, who thought that was a smart decision to put in a children's movie of all places? Like, who was that? Like, who's their audience for that?
Maybe they thought the kids would think it was funny.
But it wasn't like a funny moment. That's what I mean. Like, the rear male nudity, what didn't seem like it was supposed to be a funny moment. I don't know. And then there's implied... Well... What's his name? Did have sex with Chel.
Yeah.
Was it Miguel? No, it was Tulio.
Tulio.
Tulio had sex with Chel. Straight up. Like, as an adult, you know it. You know exactly what's happening when you watch. But for kids, it's more implied. Kind of like in Toy Story when Mr. Potato takes his lips and kisses his butt with it and tells him he can kiss his, you know. It's kind of like that. That was blatant. But here, it's just blatant that... And why? Once again, why? Like, why did they have to have sex? Who's that for? Is it for the adults? Yeah. This movie's not meant for adults. It's not like it's the audience. They don't know their audience with this movie, and that was the biggest flaw. So it was a bunch of adults making a kids movie, and then nobody said, hey, you're making a kids movie. Like, they told them that one time, and then I think over time they forgot, and then they started adding things that adults would like. But why? Why? It's not things that... It's not like Pixar where it's like meant for like both parties can... I don't know. It's just really dumb.
The only positive thing I had about the movie was that it, in some aspects, evil did lose and good won, but at the same time, the good guys were con artists pretending to be gods. So I don't. The good
guys were like not good. They didn't end up being good by the end of the movie. They still were the same guys.
Yeah.
They tried stealing. That was the entire point of the movie. Is them stealing gold from El Dorado. Yeah. And what did they do?
They took some gold.
They took some gold. They still didn't learn their lesson. They still didn't go, this isn't our gold or anything. They were like, let's get as much as we can, and then take this hot chick who I had sex with earlier, and hopefully isn't preggo, and get out of here. And then it goes, and then they're like riding off in the sunset, and it goes the end, and it's kind of like almost like there could be a sequel. Yeah. That's kind of how it felt. I guess it could have said to be continued to be more blatant, but it kind of felt like they were trying to like be like there could be a sequel to this movie. There's not. Thank God. It's not like Disney where they just made sequels from. DreamWorks knew, thankfully. And the entire movie's just a hollow, empty shell. Like, there's just, like, it's just, like...
There's no substance.
It's like an M&M without the chocolate inside. It's just the shell. Like, what's the point? Like, why am I eating this? Like, it's like you buy an M&M, you expect chocolate, and there is none. It sucks. But yeah, I gave Christian Nutritional Value a 1 out of 10.
I gave it a 3, but I thought I was being harsh.
I think you weren't being harsh enough.
Probably.
The gift of prayer.
So as you may have noticed, we didn't have the box for Road to El Dorado here. Mostly because we don't want to own it. We don't even want to go to Goodwill and pay $1 for the movie. We gave it a 34 out of 100. It is not worth watching. It's not. It's not even. It's not. Not for adults. Not for kids. It's not for anybody. It's maybe your dog will enjoy it when you're gone, and you just put Road to El Dorado on repeat. But even then, I wouldn't make him suffer or her suffer. That's mean. That's like animal cruelty. Making your dog watch Road to El Dorado on repeat while you're on vacation. That'd be so bad. You come back, your dog's trying to like steal your money. Oh man, but no, the movie's terrible. Don't watch it. Don't even get it from Goodwill for $1 on VHS. It's not worth any money. Not even for 25 cents. I was thinking what if it was out like in our store? No, not even for 25 cents. I wouldn't pay that. Thankfully, I rented it for free.
You rented it for free.
Well, I got it for free from Netflix.
Netflix isn't free.
Netflix isn't paying us to sponsor Netflix, but they do have Road to El Dorado if you really want to suffer. They do. They have it, and not a lot of people are getting it, so you can get it right away. But yeah, we don't recommend it at all. Next time, we're mixing it up a little bit, I guess. This one's a little out of the blue. We're doing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I have never seen Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So after this review, I'm going to watch it. And then, most of these movies we watched, and then we were...
And his mind will be blown.
I've never seen any of the Harry Potter movies ever. And, yeah. So I'm going to see it, and then we'll come back, and we'll review it next time. So subscribe and stay tuned. Bye!